We are told that he asked her to, he asked her to show umtla, which is the upper body. And I think that's there for itself. And what is important is whether that conversation itself was a conversation that meets the requirement, the factors of sexual harassment. We say it doesn't. No matter how disgusted we are about the conversations, those of us who are perfect, no matter how unhappy we are about the inelegant way in which they were presented, no matter how many high horses we ride from our moral place, the fact of the matter is that that we are not happy with how the two conversed is not an issue for this tribunal and was not an issue for the JP to meet. So my suggestion is that the entire conversation, the general tone of the conversation, the content of the conversation reveal two willing adults who are engaging in something that most of us may find maybe we don't like, but consensually they engage in it about sex positions, about all sorts of things most of us pretend we wouldn't do. That is not the case to determine. And of course, the other point, we've been accused of abusing culture. There's no abuse of culture. It's the point I made earlier. It is difficult to analyze a community of people from outside. First thing, when you are not in that community. But it's worse if you assume superiority of your own culture and way of doing things. It's what we say in our heads. One of our criticism of the expert and how this case is run is to pretend there is a universal truth about which everyone can agree about courting and flirting. It is condescending to suggest that at all times when we deal with these cases, there are moments when we must regard the woman as some kind of child that is unable to stand her ground, and sometimes we must believe her. I think the objective facts will show when a woman or a man, usually women, are in that situation, we would not be guessing as we are doing here. It becomes very clear very early that we say somebody persisted, and therefore, because they persisted, even if the persistence was not unwanted, constitutes sexual harassment, is an abuse of the legal principle. Because persistence or persisting itself cannot be isolated from the important fact that this was consensual, I'm sorry. So her version that at some point she rebuffed is not borne out by the facts of this case at all. And the last issue in my summary of this is it's difficult to deal with the so-called incident of the 14th or 15th of November because we prevaricate.
Yeah?
Prevaricate is a fancy way of saying to avoid telling the truth or to dodge a direct answer. Basically, when someone prevaricates, they're beating around the bush, dancing around the truth like a politician during an interview. Meaning, to speak or act in an evasive way, to avoid the truth. When asked if he ate the cake, Abbo started to prevaricate. That's how we knew he was guilty. Stop prevaricating and just say you forgot the report. So next time someone's twisting words or avoiding a straight answer, say, don't prevaricate. Just be honest.
We don't know whether it's the 14th or it's the 15th, and we are told it doesn't matter. But it does. It does if one reads the entirety of what was presented to demonstrate the whereabouts of the complainant and the respondent. To say we must guess and suggest what is probable is a principle we must apply if things are unclear. The accuser has not placed before this court evidence that what happened, what she claims happened, happened. The evidence of the footage does not show, even if you wanted to do on a balance of probabilities, that it happened. It was submitted here that because we can't really know, we must assume that there is a space there where an opportunity of it happening is there.
When the secretary must have gone to the toilet.
Yes. I think it would be a bad precedent, frankly, Chair, to decide in a matter of this nature that we must decide on somebody's guilt and impeachment from their career on a surmise. Well, because there is this time, you could have done this horrible thing. It's unfair to everybody to suggest this is gross misconduct claim for which the complainant and her legal representatives want his career to end. And I think if his career must end, it must end because objective facts and evidence are there so that we don't regret later. Nobody must be sexually harassed, but nobody must be falsely accused of sexual harassment by two adults who may have changed their mind post facto. Another misconception that is here is that we must ignore I was stopped by the chair during the cross-examination when I was painstakingly showing the similarities between the initial complaint, so-called initial, and the complaint before us. To reduce it to that it shows that she remembers because she is consistent is truly something that deserves no response. The point we were checking at that is that she had first said she had no access to the initial complaint. And when I took her through not just grammatical errors, spacing, full stop. In fact, I was going to spend the whole day doing it until the chair stopped me because it was so identical.
Were you surprised that I stopped you?
No.
You even showed a misplaced full stop. In the one document was equally misplaced in the other document.
Absolutely.
So,
Chair, and what it demonstrates to us, and we must be truthful about these things, and if you place to me something that I think my client didn't handle well, I'll tell you. I've already said there are one or two things like I thought I wouldn't do, I wouldn't say this, but I think it's important for this to realize that first lying or telling a falsehood to a tribunal in a matter of this nature is itself inimical to constitutional values because so much can happen out of this case. So much. Somebody's case may end. Career may end. And it is equally important that we are fair to the complainant. I'm not asking that she must be ignored and that future complainants must be frightened. But I'm asking that rigor must never be taken out of legal processes because we fear that certain groups will attack us. In fact, the best way to protect this is to demonstrate to both potential harassers and potential complainants that this is a serious matter about which nobody should come unless they know their story. And no respondent, including my client, no respondent must come to be evasive. And I deny the fact that she was evasive. He was embarrassed, but advised properly, and he did it himself, that he will speak the truth about what he did and what he meant.